The Mirror of Blood Mary, a horror story. The sleepover at Sophie's house was supposed to be fun. 5 friends gathered on a Friday night, popcorn, horror movies, and gossip until dawn. But when Melissa suggested the game, the atmosphere changed. "Bloody Mary," she whispered, her eyes gleaming in the flickering candlelight they had lit to create atmosphere. "My cousin did it and almost went insane. They say if you call her 3 times in the mirror, in the dark, she appears." Sophie rolled her eyes. "That's kid stuff." But her voice trembled slightly. "Are you scared?" Melissa teased, smiling. The other 3 girls, Caroline, Julia, and Amanda, exchanged nervous glances. Sophie's bathroom was perfect for the ritual. Small, windowless, with an antique mirror inherited from her grandmother. A mirror with a worn golden frame that reflected things strangely, as if there were a slight distortion in the glass. "Who's going first?" Caroline asked, biting her lip. Sophie sighed. "I'll go, to prove it's nothing." She stood up, feigning courage she didn't feel. Her friends followed her to the dark hallway. Inside the bathroom, Sophie closed the door. The darkness was absolute. Her heart pounded as she lit a single candle. The dancing reflection created bizarre shadows on her face. She looked at the mirror, saw her own wide eyes. "Bloody Mary," she called out, her voice weak. Outside, her friends listened in silence. "Bloody Mary," she repeated, louder now. The air seemed to have grown heavier. The candle flame flickered, though there was no draft. "Bloody Mary," she said for the 3rd time. For a moment, nothing happened. Sophie laughed with relief, about to open the door. Then she saw it. In the reflection, behind her, a shadow that shouldn't be there. A woman's silhouette, and 2 red eyes watching her. Sophie screamed and burst through the door, falling into her friend's arms. Everyone laughed nervously, thinking it was a joke, but Sophie couldn't stop trembling. I saw something," she whispered. That night, none of them slept well. And none of them noticed that, from that moment on, something had changed in the mirror. In the following days, strange things began to happen. Sophie noticed first. Every time she passed a mirror, any mirror, she had the feeling of being watched. She would turn quickly, but there was never anyone there. On Monday at school, she met her friends during recess. They all looked tired. "Did you sleep badly?" Amanda asked. "I had horrible nightmares," Julia admitted. "I dreamed of a woman covered in blood trying to get out of a mirror." Caroline went pale. "Me too. In the dream, she was saying my name." Sophie felt a chill down her spine. It can't be a coincidence. Melissa, who had suggested the game, was especially quiet. Finally, she spoke. "Have you really looked at your reflections today? Really looked?" The girls exchanged confused glances. "What do you mean?" Sophie asked. "Look." Melissa led them to the school bathroom. They stood before the mirror, all 5 in a row. At first, everything seemed normal, but then Sophie noticed. Her reflection blinked 1 second after she did. "Did you see that?" she whispered, horrified. The others noticed too. There was a delay, minimal but noticeable, between their movements and those of their reflected images, as if the reflections had a will of their own. "What have we done?" Amanda whimpered, tears in her eyes. That night, Sophie decided to research Bloody Mary. The internet was full of stories, but one in particular caught her attention, an old post on an occult forum. The legend of Mary Worth, a woman accused of witchcraft in the 17th century, tortured and murdered in front of a mirror. They forced her to watch her own reflection while they mutilated her so that her suffering would be doubled. They say her soul became trapped between the world of mirrors and ours, and that she seeks revenge against those who invoke her. Sophie felt nauseous. There was more. Once invoked, Mary marks those who called her. She watches through any reflective surface, waiting for the right moment to cross over. The post ended with a warning in red letters. If you called her, you must break the original mirror before the next full moon. Otherwise, she will come for you. Sophie checked the calendar. The full moon would be in 3 days. The next morning, Amanda didn't show up at school. Julia received a message from her. I can't leave the house. She's in all the mirrors, watching me, angry. Sophie gathered the others at lunchtime and shared what she had discovered. They needed to go back to her house and destroy the old bathroom mirror. But my grandmother loved that mirror, Sophie hesitated. It's a family heirloom. Would you rather have the heirloom or your life? Melissa cut in sharply. She was also different, with deep dark circles and trembling hands. When Sophie got home that afternoon, she found something disturbing. Her room was ransacked, drawers open, clothes scattered, but what made her scream was the mirror on her dresser. Someone, or something, had written on it from the inside with what looked like blood. You called me. Sophie ran to the bathroom. The antique mirror was intact, but when she looked at it, her reflection smiled. She wasn't smiling. The reflection moved its lips, forming soundless words. Tonight. Terrified, Sophie grabbed her phone to call her friends. That's when she heard the scream. It came from her parents' room upstairs. She ran up the stairs and found her mother, pale, pointing at the hallway mirror. In it, clearly visible, was the image of a woman with long black hair, pale skin stained with blood, and eyes that burned red. "Who is that?" her mother screamed. "Why is she in the mirror?" Sophie looked at the mirror. The apparition had vanished, but now she saw something worse. Her mother's reflection showed wounds on her face, as if she were being cut by invisible blades. "Mom, get out of here!" Sophie pulled her away. "Don't look at any mirrors." That night, the 5 friends met by video call. Amanda called from inside her bedroom closet, the only place without reflective surfaces. "She's getting stronger," Caroline said, crying. "My brother saw a bloodied woman in the TV reflection. She was pointing at me." "We need to destroy the mirror today. We can't wait. Who's coming with me?" The silence was deafening. Then Melissa spoke. "I'll go. It was my idea after all." Caroline and Julia also agreed. Amanda was too panicked to leave home. At 10 o'clock that night, the 4 met at Sophie's house. Her parents had gone out for dinner, unaware of the danger. The plan was simple. Go into the bathroom, break the mirror, end the curse. But when Sophie opened the bathroom door, they all froze. The mirror was cracked, as if something had tried to get out from inside it. And in the cracks, it reflected not the bathroom, but a dark place, a stone basement or dungeon. And in that place, a figure was moving toward the surface. Mary was coming. "Quick, break it now," Melissa shouted, pushing the others into the bathroom. Sophie grabbed the hammer they had brought, but when she approached the mirror, her reflection moved independently. The reflected hand grabbed the hammer from the other side. "She won't let us," Julia whispered, terrified. The cracks in the mirror began to widen. Through the gaps, pale and bloodied fingers tried to project into the real world, Mary's fingers. Caroline backed away, bumping into the sink. "This can't be happening." Sophie pulled the hammer hard, locked in an impossible arm-wrestling match with her own reflection. Sweat poured down her face. "Help me!" Melissa grabbed Sophie from behind, adding strength. Julia did the same. Slowly, inch by inch, they managed to pull the hammer back. "Now!" Sophie shouted, and struck the mirror with all her might. The sound was deafening, but the mirror didn't break. It only cracked more, and through the new fissures, more of Mary's presence tried to pass through. Her face was beginning to form in the glass, furious red eyes, mouth open in a silent scream of rage and pain. "It's not working!" Caroline cried. That's when Melissa noticed something. "Look at the edges, the frame!" The old golden frame had inscriptions that none of them had noticed before, strange symbols worn by time, and on the back of the frame, partially hidden, an engraved name, Mary Worth, 1692. "It's not the mirror," Melissa understood. "It's the frame that holds her." Sophie dropped the hammer and began tearing at the frame with her hands. The old wood gave way, releasing splinters and pieces. The others helped, pulling desperately. In the mirror, Mary was almost crossing over. Her torso was already projecting outward, hands stretched toward Sophie, nails long like claws. "Faster!" Julia pleaded. With one last violent pull, the frame came completely loose. The mirror, now free, fell to the floor and shattered into 1,000 pieces. A supernatural scream echoed through the bathroom. It came from nowhere and everywhere at once. The lights flickered. A freezing wind blew from within the scattered glass shards. And then, silence. The girls breathed heavily, huddled in the corner of the bathroom. Seconds passed. Minutes. Nothing happened. "Is it over?" Caroline whispered. Sophie looked at the mirror fragments on the floor. In each shard, she saw only her own reflection, normal, synchronized with her movements. "I think so," she said, relieved. But Melissa didn't relax. "We need to burn the frame, now." They took the pieces of the old frame to the backyard. Sophie poured alcohol and struck a match. The flames rose quickly, consuming the centuries-old wood. For a moment, they all swore they saw a face forming in the smoke. Mary's face, finally freed, finally at peace. Or perhaps it was just fear playing with their minds. They swept up the glass shards, threw everything in the trash, and cleaned every trace of that terrible night. When Sophie's parents arrived home, they found the girls watching TV, as if nothing had happened. "The bathroom mirror broke," Sophie explained, feigning innocence. "Sorry, Mom, it slipped off the wall." Her mother sighed, but didn't scold her. That night, for the first time in days, they all managed to sleep without nightmares. A week passed. Life returned to normal, or almost. Amanda finally left the house. The girls met again, laughed, were ordinary teenagers. But Sophie noticed things, small things that the others seemed to ignore. Melissa avoided mirrors completely. She covered them when she needed to pass by one. Caroline developed a nervous tic of closing her eyes whenever she saw her reflection. Julia stopped taking selfies. And Amanda was different, quieter, more distant, as if a part of her had remained trapped on the other side. Sophie tried to talk to them about it, but they all denied it. "Everything's fine," they said. "It was just a scare. It's over." But it wasn't over. Not completely. One night, Sophie woke up thirsty. She went down to the kitchen and, passing by the hallway, saw light coming from the bathroom. The door was ajar. She peeked inside and froze. Amanda was there, standing before the new mirror they had installed. But she wasn't looking at herself. She was talking, moving her lips, smiling, as if someone on the other side was responding. "Amanda?" Sophie called softly. Her friend turned, startled. Her eyes were different, deeper, more hollow. "She forgave me," Amanda said, her voice strangely calm. "Mary forgave me. She understands. She just wanted to be heard." "What are you talking about?" "She's still here, Sophie, in all the mirrors, but she's not angry anymore." She smiled, and there was something wrong with that smile. "She just wants company. Loneliness is worse than death." Sophie felt her blood freeze. "You didn't talk to her. Tell me you didn't." "Every night," Amanda whispered. She tells me stories about what it was like to die alone, about what it's like to be trapped for centuries. She's so lonely, Sophie, so sad. Amanda, this isn't real. It's the curse still working. But Amanda shook her head. You don't understand. None of you understand. She looked back at the mirror. But Mary understands. She always understands. Sophie tried to pull Amanda away, but her friend resisted with surprising strength. One day, you'll understand too. You all will. Mary is patient. She can wait. Sophie backed away, horrified, and ran back to her room. She locked the door, pushed the dresser against it. Her heart beat uncontrollably. They hadn't broken the curse. They had only changed its form. Mary was no longer trying to cross over violently. She was seducing, attracting, whispering promises of understanding and companionship to vulnerable minds. And Amanda was already lost. Sophie created a group with Melissa, Caroline, and Julia in her phone. She typed quickly, "We need to meet, now. It's about Amanda, and about us." The responses came fast. They were all awake. They had all noticed. They met at the park near school at 3 in the morning. They sat in a tight circle, away from any reflective surface. "Mary didn't leave," Melissa said, her voice trembling. "We didn't defeat her. We just freed her from prison." "And now she's everywhere," Julia completed. "In every mirror, every window, every puddle of water." Caroline hugged her knees. "What do we do? How do we stop this?" Sophie thought for a long moment. Then she understood the terrible truth. "We can't," she said quietly. "When we invoked Mary, we created a connection. She's linked to us now, forever." "So we'll end up like Amanda," Julia cried. "No," Sophie said firmly. "If we know she's there, if we resist, if we don't listen to her whispers, we can live with it. But we have to be strong, always." They made a pact that night. They would never be alone near mirrors. They would never listen to the voices. They would always support each other. And above all, they would never, ever teach another person how to invoke Bloody Mary. Because some doors, once opened, can never be completely closed.
5 years later, Sophie was at college when she received the call. It was Amanda's mother. "She's gone," the voice said, panicked. "She went into the bathroom last night and just disappeared. The door was locked from the inside, but when we broke it down, there was no one there. Just the cracked mirror and blood on the wall." Sophie closed her eyes. She knew what had happened. Amanda had finally accepted Mary's invitation. She had crossed to the other side. She hung up the phone and looked at the dorm mirror. For a second, just a second, she thought she saw Amanda on the other side, smiling, waving, and beside her, a figure with long black hair. Sophie covered the mirror with a sheet and left the room. Some horror stories don't have happy endings. Some become part of you, forever. And if you, hearing this story, ever feel curious to call Bloody Mary in front of a mirror, remember, Mary always answers, and she never forgets a face.